All right. Hi, everybody who's watching. Thanks for coming back and being part of our BPHL Fireside Chat series. I'm Michelle Histand, Executive Director of BPHL, and I'm particularly excited about today's chat. This one's really special because today we have the CEO of Independence Health Group, Dan Hilferty, with us. Dan, thanks for joining us. We're so happy to have you.
Hi, Michelle. I'm excited to be here. Hello, everyone.
So this one's really special to me because in my day job, I am Director of Innovation at Independence Blue Cross. And, as everybody knows, BPHL is all about innovation. It's all about celebrating the innovation in our city. And I'm going to start off with a question that I really am excited to ask. Dan, I like to say that I have the best job in the city. I head up innovation at Independence. It's really incredible. And it's a role that I've been in for a while. And it's all really because of your vision for innovation. And, thinking about all that you have to manage on a day-to-day basis, what made you recognize the importance of innovation in an industry that's pretty risk averse by nature, right? So what led you to to know that we needed this?
Well, first of all, Michelle, thank you for not only your leadership of BPHL and the whole innovation space in Philadelphia, but you're right. You do have a great day job, and we're very fortunate to have you at Independence Health Group, Independence Blue Cross. I'd have to say that I'm probably the least technically savvy individual at our company, but what I do understand is that if we're going to advance the cause of improving healthcare that's delivered to the millions of people we serve and the millions of people that access care in this country and around the world every day, we need to do it better. And the old ways just are limited in the opportunity to make people understand the healthcare process, access care in the appropriate way, and really have much better outcomes. So we as a company, it wasn't just me, it was a group of us sitting around the table, the leadership team, yourself, and saying, how do we separate ourselves from the pack, so to speak? And we decided that the best way to go was to create our own center where we could endorse free thinking around new ways of using technology, new ways of working closely with clinicians, new ways of freeing up and breaking down old barriers so that people could access care better. And as we started talking about it within the own confines of our building, now within the beautiful Innovation Center where your offices and your team's offices are located, and where we invite everyone and anyone who's interested in participating in our programs to come and do that. But we've reached beyond the walls of 1901 and our Independence campus around the region and the country. And we're asking partners to come with us on this journey and frankly, teach us where they can. So it's more or less out of the necessity of having to change healthcare, we realize that we could be part of the solution by not only endorsing, but encouraging innovative thinking and bringing people like yourself who really help us get out of our traditional boundaries and think big thoughts.
I love that. You mentioned our Innovation Center, which I could not be missing more. And I'm home with 4 boys. Send help. No, so I'm really missing that space. And one of the things we do at our Innovation Center is we use human-centered design. And I think what's important about human-centered design is it's about putting people first and putting people at the center of everything we do. And I think, with folks working at home, with being away from our offices, people are having a hard time putting themselves at the center of things, right? And keeping themselves first. I think that, I've seen funny memes of people doing Zoom happy hours in closets to get away from the kids. And we're balancing homeschooling and working throughout the day and things like that. So I'm wondering if you have any tips on how people can, put themselves first right now, and any tips for what's been keeping you balanced at this time.
Well, thank you for that question. And I do feel for you. We're a little further along in that process. All 5 of our children are gone. We look forward to our times where we have video chats with our grandkids. And on occasion, we have had some social distancing opportunities with them as well. And the good thing is you get to see them. The bad thing is you can't hug them. But I'd say, Michelle, it's interesting. If I can just take a step back and give you a sense of how I look at this. I see the whole idea of this pandemic and our social distancing and in some cases quarantining, I see it both as an opportunity for us to really explore the innovation space and figure out what may work during this temporary new normal and ultimately work as part of a permanent new normal. I will say this though, the same frustrations that you voiced, frustrations might be too strong a word, are true for me. Number one, I'm a people person, and I know you are a people person.
Yeah.
It's hard not to interact. And I think ultimately, one thing we have as we rely more on remote settings, as we rely more on technology to bring us closer, we can't forget the importance of the human touch. We can't forget the importance of really looking someone in the eye. It's from our perspective at Independence, it's both part of our culture. Where we communicate a lot with each other. And I think any organization, as they think about the future, get excited about the technology, but also realize that that human touch, that interaction is so important as we phase towards a permanent new normal. So for myself, I'm very lucky, as I'm sure you are. My life partner, my wife, we thoroughly enjoy being with each other, and that is really an important part of this. I would say as it relates to work, three things. One, I keep a schedule. Even though I sometimes do not leave the house, going from one meeting to another via phone or video conference, I get up like I did when I went to the office every day. I shower, I organize my things, I grab a bite to eat, I have a cup of coffee, I read the newspapers, and then I treat the schedule as if I'm right there in the office. And for me, it's kept a level of balance. And then I think the potential of time creep, so to speak, with the temporary new normal, where you might say, oh, I'll take one more call. It's now 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. I've really tried to limit that. And when I shut down my laptop, when I shut down my iPad and put my iPhone off to the side, I really try to focus on leisure things that I like to do, be it reading, some type of workout every day. Try to get some type of workout, maybe some quiet reflection, some borderline meditation. I just find it, if I treat it as if it's the old normal, yet understanding that I'm in this temporary, maybe permanent new normal, I find that I'm able to keep my balance.
Those are really good tips. I love that. I'm doing the same thing, keeping my routine every day. There have been a lot of jokes around like, who quarantines in jeans? And that's me. I get up every day, I get dressed, I put on jeans. I can't be in sweats or else, my mind says it's time for Netflix. So I really feel like keeping my routine. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Those are all good tips. And I have noticed that I think folks are working less over the weekend and have been really good about keeping their work time boxed. And maybe that's a nice outcome of all of this, right? So I think those are really, really good tips and things to follow.
Michelle, can I say one other thing? For those of you that are on this chat, that and you're in a leadership position, please go to great lengths to communicate with your colleagues, those that may report to you, or folks that work across your organization. It's so important. We do this thing twice a week. We send out a video where I give an update on what might be happening in the organization. Joan, my wife, has joined in, and we've tried to make them humorous. And the feedback that I've received, that people feel comforted in knowing how the leadership team is thinking, feel part of it, feel cared about. And really, it's lowered their level of anxiety. And I know we're going to get into it a little later, but a concern about behavioral health during this period of time for me is high. And so anything we can do to ease the angst, the loneliness, whatever it might be that fellow workers, family members are feeling, I think is really the most innovative thing we can do.
Dan, your videos are widely loved. We're actually getting some comments popping up on the chat about how much people love the videos. And I think you're so right. I think staying connected in any way that you can. And our leadership team has been incredible with really clear, transparent communication and constant communication. And that's been huge. And let's talk about the mental health piece. I do want to talk about that. You know, something I really appreciate is that you've been a big advocate for mental health and taking away the stigma. And part of that just developed in a new campaign that we worked with the city of Philadelphia to create called Mindful Together, or Mindful, and it's Mind PHL. So I really love the word play, or the letter play. I'm a big Bogle fan, so I really appreciate that. So PHL, of course, is our city code. So it's called Mindful. And it really includes resources for mental health. And I wonder if you can just talk a little bit more about that campaign and why it's so important to innovate in the mental health space, especially now.
Okay, so let's start with the partnership with the city of Philadelphia. I have to really commend Mayor Jim Kenney and his team for realizing that this time when folks are sometimes alone at home or stressed because they have an older family member or a child who has an illness, whatever it might be. And the mayor recognized that, and in conversation with us, we realized, and the city realized, it was a great opportunity for us to work together to get a message out to folks about help is out there, and you can easily access help by going on the website. And once you go on the website and begin to understand what you're feeling, and appreciate that others are going through it too, and then using the website to connect to a clinician or connect to the right point of care that you may need. It might be as simple as I indicated, do some breathing exercise or go for a walk, or reach out to a loved one or a friend you haven't talked to in a long time and just share. Just by sharing, it might ease some of the stress. But then, quite frankly, we get into more complex areas of the mind, of the spirit, things that folks may be battling with that come to the fore because of this time of crisis. And so I'm excited about the program with the city. Interestingly enough, we as a company for the past 2 years have been thinking in terms of innovating the way we deliver care. And certainly, Michelle, the leadership that you've provided and your team has provided in giving us not only the facilities, but the tools to help us think differently. It's really been key. But we're now committed as a company from the board.
Oh, we lost Dan for a second. So while he is getting back on, I'll tell you guys where to find those resources. So Mindful Together is the website. It's MINDPHL together.com. And there are all kinds of resources there. And maybe even more importantly, a phone number that you can call for access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There is a hotline. So that phone number is 215-685-6440. So I would definitely encourage everybody watching, if you feel like you need help or support, check it out, check out the resources. I really appreciate, I have a history of mental illness in my family, and I think, it's so important to talk about and not be ashamed to talk about it. So many of us are feeling anxious, especially now, and feeling overwhelmed. Like I said, I'm home with 4 boys. I count my husband in that. So send Twinkies and help right away. So Mindful Together is just such an amazing partnership that's come up because I think so many people are recognizing the need to reach out. We've talked to other guests about how we can help in various communities. And I think going along with the idea of mental health, it is, reaching out to check on your neighbors and see what they need, and talking to your friends and family, and being really open about the dialogue about, what we have to do to help each other at this time when folks are feeling really anxious and when folks are feeling like they might need some help. So Dan, I just shared the resources.
Am I back?
You're back. You're back. Thank you. Technology.
Michelle, if everybody only knew what you and I went through to do this.
We're all good. I was just sharing the website for Mindful Together and the phone number, which is so great because it means everybody can access these resources. And just saying that, it's such a good time to check in on your neighbor and your family members, and make sure that they're feeling okay, because there's no shame in feeling anxiety anytime, but particularly right now with all that's going on. So I don't know if you wanted to touch on anything else there.
I don't know. It was the best remarks I've ever given in my life. And I think it all happened after we lost contact. That's not true. But what I would like to say, and we take great pride in this, and the opportunity, the environment that you have built in the Innovation Center enables us to think outside the box as clinicians, as generalists like myself, the whole team. And as we look to the future, if this pandemic has taught us one thing, it's taught us that behavioral health matters. Behavioral health matters in a way that we had never imagined before. We as a company are committed to building a nationally recognized, robust set of products and services that enable people to understand not just the physical part of the being, but the behavioral part, the mental part. And we will commit resources to make that happen. I think it's important, first and foremost, that we need to break down the stigma of seeking mental health care, behavioral health care, or some type of substance disorder. We 1 out of 2 Americans, by several studies, will encounter some behavioral, mental, or substance disorder issue during their lifetime. Well, we as a health insurer have a responsibility to make sure that, one, when people feel these things or aren't sure what they feel, that they truly have the ability, whether it be through technology, virtually, by phone, or face to face, to really talk freely about those things that every one of us as human beings, in some way, shape, or form, or at some level, deals with during their lifetime. And we are committed through innovation to figuring out how best to do it for not only all of our members, but to anybody who seeks our care or help.
Dan, I really appreciate that. I think leaders like you coming out and saying that publicly is part of what's so important for people to understand, that there is no shame in asking for help, right? I shared that I have a long history of mental illness in my family, a lot of anxiety and clinical depression and suicide. And if people don't talk about it, then it doesn't get better. So I really appreciate our commitment to that. And I think that's one of the best things about our company, is that we make those kinds of commitments. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's really important. In some ways, it just feels like as we deal with the pandemic and try to work together to flatten the curve, we're all kind of in a big group project together, right? And pulling resources together. So, I know we're preparing to move from red to yellow in June in Pennsylvania. And as we eventually move to green, what advice do you have for the next phase, and how we can continue to work together through the recovery?
Well, first and foremost, Michelle, when you think about what we went through as a company, for the past 7-8 years, we've been preparing ourselves for whether it be a terrible storm, a pandemic, as we're going through right now, but for some reason that we had to have a sea change and work remotely. And I'm happy to say, through the leadership of folks like Brian Lobley and Mike Venera and many others, our switch was relatively seamless. And with the exception of the sheer volume or the traffic on our systems, which we worked through over the first couple of weeks, we haven't missed a beat. And so when we think about moving from red phase, where no one is supposed to be in the building, to a yellow phase where you begin to think about returning to a new normal, we have decided to do a couple things. First and foremost, live up or develop a list, and we have 8 what I'll call guiding principles that we have to make sure those principles are met before we even consider moving to certain levels of return to work. Mm-hmm. The second is, because the remote workplace has worked for us, and I understand every business is different, we're going to be very conservative, and we're going to put the health and safety of every associate first before we move people back to what will be the new permanent normal. And I guess my comment there is, I can guarantee you this, that it will not look exactly like what it looked like, say, on the 3rd or 4th of January when we came back to work. It will be somewhere between where we are today and what it was then. And it'll help us strategically. We'll be able to find some savings, but first and foremost, we're putting the health and safety of every associate, whether it be how they get to and from work, what their home situation is. Do they also have sons at home who need to be homeschooled until the schools reopen? Well, we're not going to interrupt the new life, the temporary new life of the families and the associates that work with us. So I can't tell you where it ultimately leads, but I will tell you we are fortunate because of the preparation that the team has done, the innovative approach that the team has taken over the past several years. We're going to be very conservative in working out how we come back to work and ensuring that everyone is safe as possible on a daily basis.
We really appreciate that. I know that it's top of mind for everyone, and I'm actually, while I miss the office so much, I really hate the summer. That's a fun fact about me. I hate the heat, so I'm excited I don't have to commute.
What?
Yeah, I'll be in the air conditioning all summer, which is not a bad thing for me. I will never leave this house. So in some ways, it's
Wait a minute. You are the first person I've ever heard say that. But that's
I know.
okay.
Yeah, I love the winter. Fall and winter are my seasons. I don't like to be hot. So, I'm trying to look on the bright side. I'm an eternal optimist. I don't have to leave the house for the summer commute. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, you're right.
So we're here because of BPHL. So we have to talk a little bit about BPHL. Independence Blue Cross, with amazing partners across the city and the region last year. We had the opportunity to pull together this thing, the first ever BPHL Innovation Festival, which was really aimed at highlighting and celebrating the innovation that happens in our region, because we want more people to know what's going on here and how much we have to offer to come here and set up business and set up shop and come visit. So tell me, Dan, for you, what was the most memorable or impactful moment of last year's festival?
Well, Michelle, first and foremost, this gets back to what we talked about earlier in the conversation, the fact that you and a group of like-minded folks working with the Chamber of Commerce, companies like Comcast and many others, came up with the idea that we, right here in Philadelphia, the center of the study of the human genome and unleashing the powers of the human genome to save people's lives, and understanding that we have a real community of innovative thinkers, that you wanted to not only highlight that for the rest of the nation and potentially the world, but you collaboratively work to develop several venues, incredible speakers from around the industries that are relevant to innovation to come and speak. And then I, for one, was just amazed how our building really was a center of a lot that went on. The Innovation Center was newly opened, and it was just such a hub of vibrant discussion and activity related to how we can improve healthcare, how we can really become a region that I'm not even going to mention the other regions, but we can become the preeminent center of innovation, healthcare innovation, not only in the country, but in the world. When you have the best hospitals in the world right here, you have the best research institutions in the world right here. When you have the best health insurer in the world right here, you have an opportunity to really create an environment. And I think last year's event really set the stage for a bright future for BPHL. And the fact that we are part of a number of really prominent partners in doing this just excites me. I like to say on the National Archives building, and I use this a lot, but I'll use it again, inscribed on the side of the wall, it says the past is prologue. And so I would say that last year's events over the course of that week that lit up the city and the region were certainly a prologue for what we can expect in the future. And out of it will come significant investment in startup companies and incubators throughout the region. And over time, it will be the catalyst that turns Philadelphia into the preeminent center for innovation in this country.
Yes, I love that. Yes, that's exactly.
I believe it.
Nothing to do.
I
I do too. I do too.
I know you do.
Yeah, I do. I think we have so much to offer, and we just need to continue telling the story. So, well, let's end with this. Have you heard anything about this year's festival? Any plans for this year's event that you want to
Well,
share?
I don't want to share anything, but only thing I can tell you, one part of it is the excitement that because parts of it will be virtual. We're not sure how much yet. Stay tuned. But the number of really exciting speakers and participants on panels. Even I've been shocked by the yeses we've been receiving. But there's a big piece of news that I'll just leave for later and only say to those that are on this chat, stay tuned. It's going to be even better than last year. It will be different, but it will be better.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks, Dan. Different but better. That's exactly what it's going to be, and we're really excited to share an announcement that's coming out this week. So everybody, stay tuned for that. And until then, we will let Dan get back to it. Dan, thank you so much for being with us and sharing some of your thoughts with us. Anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
Everyone, be safe, stay healthy. Let's let science drive us in this getting through this pandemic, and we'll be back at it in a new normal not too far from now. But until then, keep doing what you're doing and look forward to a great BPHL this fall. Take care.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dan.
Thanks,
All right, guys, thanks for watching.